Hello students, myself Dr. Himmat Singh, School of Pharmacy, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. In Physical Pharmaceutics second, the unit of today's discussion is viscosity, and the topic of today's concern is thixotropy, its measurement and applications of thixotropy in formulation. Then we have to discuss about the determination of viscosity by using capillary viscometer, Harling sphere, and rotational viscometers. So these are the topic of today's discussion. The learning objectives of today's lectures are: first, we have to study about the definition of thixotropy, then measurement of thixotropy, applications of thixotropy in different formulations. Then we have to discuss about the determination methods or measurement of viscosity, then instrumentation for measurement of viscosity, then different types of viscometers we have to discuss. These are the capillary viscometers, Harling sphere viscometers, and rotational type of viscometers. And after completion of today's lecture, the student will be able to know about the thixotropy, its measurement, its application in different formulation, and then the second part of today's lecture, the student may be able to know about the measurement of viscosity, what are the different methods for viscosity, instrumentation for measurement of viscosity, and different types of viscometers that can be used for measurement of viscosity. So before starting the thixotropy, first we have to recap about the viscosity and rheology as we discussed in our previous lectures. So as you know, viscosity or rheology is defined as the science of flow. Viscosity is the resistance to flow. If the resistance is more, then the liquid having more viscosity. If the resistance is less, then we can say that the liquid having less viscosity. So in rheology, we can study about the flow of different fluids, and in case of solids, we have to discuss about the deformation of solids. So it is the broad science or branch of science in which we have to discuss about the flow of different fluids and deformation of different solid substances. So viscosity and rheology is very important in pharmaceutical industry or any type of industry point of view, as well as for our different manufacturing process, unit operations, and different type of physical parameters which affects the viscosity we already discussed in our previous lectures. In our today's lecture, after the discussion of viscosity and different types of liquids as we discussed in our previous lecture, whether it may be Newtonian liquids or non-Newtonian liquids. So just we have to summarize the different types of liquids. So the Newton's law of flow is given as the rate of shear is directly proportional to shearing stress, and the viscosity can be represented by the poise or centipoise unit. The liquids which obey the Newton's law of flow is known as Newtonian liquids, whereas the liquids or substances or materials or fluids which do not obey the Newton's law of flow, they are known as non-Newtonian liquids. So non-Newtonian liquids can be further classified or can be characterized by the different rheograms when we plot between the rate of shear and shearing stress. As we go through the different types of non-Newtonian liquids, we can find there are plastic flow, pseudoplastic flow, and dilatant flow. So different substances which are classified in the category of non-Newtonian liquid which do not obey the Newton's law of flow, where the rate of shear is directly not proportional to the shearing stress when we plot a rheogram, between the rate of shear and shearing stress. So after completion of different examples of Newtonian liquids as well as the different non-Newtonian liquids or pseudoplastic, plastic and dilatant liquids and fluids, we have to come a very important parameter. This is known as thixotropy. So first of all, we have to discuss about the what is thixotropy, and then we have to discuss about its measurement characteristics, and then lastly we have to go through the application part of thixotropy. So it is a comparatively slow recovery on standing of a material which lost its consistency through shearing. So when we plot a graph between the rate of shear and shearing stress, there are two characteristic. Hysteresis loop is given in this rheogram for pseudoplastic as well as the plastic material. So in case of Newtonian liquids, when we compare this rheogram with the Newtonian liquids, the rate of shear is directly proportional to shearing stress. So when we plot a rheogram or graph between the rate of shear and shearing stress for Newtonian liquid, we can obtain the straight line or linear line. But in case of non-Newtonian liquid, there are the characteristics rheograms for plastic as well as the pseudoplastic material as shown in this rheogram. And there is two type of curves. One is the up curve and second one is the down curve. So in up curve, where the rate of shear is directly proportional to shearing stress, in case of Newtonian liquid we can obtain a straight line, and the down curve is also coincide with the up curve. But in case of non-Newtonian liquid as shown in this rheogram for pseudoplastic and plastic systems, where the down curve is shifted towards the left side, or either it may be right side on the up curve. It is not coincide with the up curve. So this is the hysteresis loop, which is the characteristic feature for thixotropic behavior, and it is known as gel sol gel system, where the resting condition, the substance or material or fluid is in gel condition. When we apply the shear stress, it will convert into the sol, and again there is the conversion from sol to gel can be seen. So when the gel to sol is conversion is occur, it may be faster position, process, but where the again sol is again convert into the gel, there is a comparatively slow recovery on standing of a material which lost its consistency through the shearing. Now, thixotropy is only applied to shear thinning systems. This indicates a breakdown of structure in shear thinning, which does not reform immediately when the stress is removed or reduced. So, this is the characteristic feature of this thixotropic system, where the gel sol gels can be given. Means it is the comparatively slow recovery of the material on standing of the material which lost its consistency through shearing. So when we go through the rheogram, we can find this type of hysteresis loop. So in thixotropy, where we seen the characteristic features or characteristic hysteresis loop regarding this rheogram. So when we go through the rheogram, we can find the hysteresis loop for different pseudoplastic and plastic materials. So it is defined as the isothermal and comparatively slow recovery on standing of material of a consistency lost through shearing. So as I already told you, it is a gel sol gel type of system, where the first, the resting condition, the fluid can be shown in the gelling state. When we apply the shear stress, it will convert into the sol system, and again it will convert into the gel system. So it is a isothermal and comparatively slow recovery on standing of a material of a consistency lost through shearing. It is the shear thinning system. When agitated and kept aside, it is expected to return its original state of fluidity, but takes longer time to recover compared to the time taken for agitation. So when we compare the time taken from conversion of soul to jail, it will be more than the conversion of jail to soul. So it takes longer time to recover compared to the time taken for agitation. Thixotropic behavior can be shown by the plastic and pseudoplastic system. And when we plot the graph between the rate of shear and shearing stress, we can find a characteristic hysteresis loop for these type of thick systems in thixotropic behavior. Then in thixotropic concept, where the particle-particle interaction with gel transformation can be seen. So you can go through this flow diagram and easily understand the concept of thixotropy. At resting condition of storage, where the multi-point contacts are there, high consistency or high viscosity, and when it convert, it is present in the gel state first. Then it will convert into the soul state after application of shear, or on shear equilibrium the contacts between the material breakdown and the consistency lost can be seen, or the low viscosity can be seen. And after it, when the gel convert into the soul, then again the soul convert into the gel, but the conversion of soul to gel, this is the slow recovery process where the removal of stress is done, then particle contacts due to the Brownian motion, and then it will convert into the gelling state. So thixotropic concept is behavior or can be easily understood with the help of gel sol gel transformation. So the rheogram of thixotropic material is we seen when we plot a graph between the rate of shear and shear stress, we can find the different characteristic up curve and down curve in case of thixotropic substances. So the rheogram of thixotropic material depends on rate at which shear increased or decreased. And the second one is the length of time during which sample is subjected to any one rate of shear. So there are the two important aspects where the diagram of this type of thixotropic behavior or material depends on rate of shear, which is maybe increased or decreased, or length of time during which sample is subjected to rate of shear. So from the graph of up curve is denoted by AB up to the maximum point B. The rate of shear is reduced, then downward curve, which can be represented by the symbol BC, is obtained. So you can go through the rheogram of the thixotropy phenomena. It can be observed by constructing different type of consistency curve or plastic systems as well as for the pseudo plastic system. So from this graph or from this rheogram, the up curve can be denoted by AB, and the down curve can be denoted by BC. So first there is the maximum point B is reached, then if the rate of shear is reduced, then down curve, which is denoted by BC, is obtained. In non-Newtonian system, the down curve is displaced to the left of the up curve. Instead of Newtonian liquid, where the down curve can be coincide or may be equal to the up curve, but in case of the non-Newtonian system, the down curve is displaced to left of the up curve. In Newtonian system, it can be superimposed easily because the down curve and up curve will be following the linearity. But in case of non-Newtonian system, it is displaced to the left side of the up curve. In this graph, the material has low consistency in any rate of shear on down curve compared to that shown on up curve. So when we see this graph, we can easily compare the consistency at any rate of shear on the down curve as well as on the up curve. So really thixotropic curve constructed for the pseudoplastic system. In Newtonian system, the down curve is superimposed to the up curve. But in case of non-Newtonian system, we can find the different down curves as we seen in this rheogram. Now, after the discussion of thixotropic behavior of different substances by the rheogram of thixotropic material. What is anti-thixotropy? So anti-thixotropy represents an increase in consistency or high viscosity rather than decrease in consistency in the down curve as we seen in the rheogram of thixotropy. So increase in consistency or high viscosity comparatively with the thixotropic behavior, where the decrease in consistency in the down curve can be seen. So the increase in thickness or resistance to flow with increased time of shear observed for magnesia magma. Anti-thixotropy is flocculated system containing low solid contents, maybe 1 to 10%. Dilatancy system is deflocculated system containing solid contents more than 50%. So with the help of very different examples like magnesia magma, we can easily understand the concept of thixotropy or anti-thixotropic behavior of different substances. So in anti-thixotropy, at resting condition on storage, individual particles in large number of small flocks, they can show the low viscosity. And on applying the rate of shear or shearing condition, particle collision and contacts are seen, then there will be large flocks in small number, where the high viscosity can be seen, the substance is in the solid state. And set aside this removal of stress, then the again contacts break, then individual particles can be seen, and again low viscosity can be found in different types of materials. So when we go through the rheogram or characteristic rheogram for this anti-thixotropy phenomena, it can be shown by the like the magnesia magma. So rate of shear and shear stress will be plot on the rheogram, where the up curve and down curve are denoted. So from this rheogram, it is observed that magnesia magma was alternately sheared at increasing and decreasing rate of shear. So magma go increase through continuously and finally reach the equilibrium state, in which further cycling of increasing and decreasing rate of shear no longer increase in the consistency of the material. And when equilibrium state where gel was found, when allowed to stay, material returned to sol-like property. So this was the anti-thixotropy, which can be denoted by the example of magnesia magma. Now the next is the rheopexy. So what is rheopexy? So rheopexy is phenomena in which a sol forms a gel more readily when shaken or sheared than when allowed to form the gel while the material is kept at resting condition, like the magnesia magma or clay suspension. In rheopectic system, the gel is in the equilibrium state. Anti-thixotropic system, the sol is in equilibrium state. So when we go through the gel, sol, gel concept in thixotropic behavior, the rheopectic system show the gel state in the equilibrium condition, and in anti-thixotropic system, the sol state can be shown in the equilibrium state. So rheopexy is a phenomena where a sol forms a gel more readily when shaken or sheared than when allowed to form the gel while the material is at resting condition. Now, after the discussion of thixotropy, anti-thixotropy, and rheopexy, now how can we measure or determine the thixotropy? So, measurement of thixotropy. The most apparent characteristic of thixotropic system is the hysteresis loop. It is seen in the different rheograms. It can be formed by the up curve and down curves of the rheogram, as we seen in our earlier slides. Now, how can we measure the thixotropy? So, the area of hysteresis loop has been used to measure the thixotropic breakdown and can be obtained by means of planimeter. So, by the help of apparatus which is known as planimeter, we can measure the thixotropy of a particular substance. When we plot the rheogram, we can determine the area of this hysteresis loop, and it can be used to measure the thixotropic breakdown by the help of planimeter. With plastic, which is known as Bingham bodies, two approaches are used to estimate the degree of thixotropy. And now we have to see what are the two approaches. First one is to determine structural breakdown with time at constant rate of shear. The first concept or first approach for determination of the measurement of thixotropy is the determination of structural breakdown with the time at constant rate of shear. By constant or by fixed rate of shear, we have to discuss, we have to study the structural breakdown of different material. The second approach is based on the to determine structural breakdown due to increasing rate of shear. So in first concept or first approach where the rate of shear is constant, but in case of second approach where the structural breakdown can be determined due to the increasing shear rate. So there are two approaches for the measurement of the thixotropy. By the help of measurement of area of hysteresis loop, we can go through the rheograms and find out the thixotropy, and it can be easily measured by the help of planimeter apparatus. Now, after the discussion of thixotropy, which can be characterized by gel, sol, gel system. Resting condition, the thixotropic material can be seen in the gelling state. When we apply the shear rate, they can convert into the sol system, and then again it can be converted into the gel system. But the conversion of again sol to gel in second process will be slow and isothermal process. Now, what is the applications or what are the different uses of this thixotropic behavior in pharmaceutical process? So, very common example which can be given like the procaine penicillin, where it is used as intramuscular depot injection. So first it is present in the gel state, then it is transferred or it can be poured into the container, then taken into the syringe, and it can be administered through the intramuscular or parenteral route. So the thixotropic behavior of procaine penicillin is very very important, which makes it the prolonged time of release, and it can be used for better and more suitable administration of this drug. So there are different examples of thixotropy in pharmacy. So we can use the thixotropic behavior to show the better applications of these substances. Some of the applications are given like the viscosity of creams and lotions may affect the rate of absorption of the products by the skin. So where the topical or cosmetic preparations are applied, so the rate of absorption of these products depends on the viscosity of creams and lotions. A greater release of active ingredients is generally possible from the softer, less viscous bases. The viscosity of semi-solid products may affect absorption of these topical products due to the effect of viscosity on the rate of diffusion of the active ingredients. The rate of absorption, which is very important regarding the bioavailability of different drugs. So the rate of absorption of an ordinary suspension differs from the thixotropic suspension. Thixotropy is useful in the formulation of pharmaceutical suspensions and emulsions. They must be poured easily from the containers with low viscosity. So there are so many examples or applications of this thixotropy in pharmaceutical formulations. Now, the second part of our today's lecture is the determination of viscosity. So viscosity, which is represented in terms of centipoise or poise, it can be determined in laboratory as well as in our different pharmaceutical industry. And there are so many importance or significance of the viscosity, and why the viscosity is studied before starting the formulation study is discussed in our previous lectures. So now we have to discuss about the determination or measurement of viscosity with the help of different types of viscometers. So the viscometers are the equipments or apparatus which can be used for determination or measurement of viscosity. They are like the capillary viscometers or falling sphere viscometers and rotational type of viscometer. So now let us discuss one by one. So instrumentation for measurement of viscosity. So first, the viscometers are the apparatus which can be used for the measurement of viscosity. They can be divided or classified into two types, where the one point or single point is viscometer, and second one is the multi-point viscometer. So the comparison of single point and multi-point viscometer is given in these slides. You can see here in single point apparatus or single point viscometer at a single rate of shear, one point on the curve. In multi-point viscometer, several rate of shear obtained at many points on the curve. The equipment for single or one point viscometers are Oswald viscometers and falling sphere viscometers. The example of multi-point viscometers where the several rate of shear at many points on the curve can be obtained, like the cup and bob viscometer and cone and plate viscometer. The applications for one point or single point apparatus is used for measurement of viscosity of Newtonian liquids, and the multi-point viscometers are applicable for the measurement of viscosity for Newtonian as well as the non-Newtonian fluids. So in one point instruments provide a single point on the rheogram. So when we plot the rate of shear and shear stress on a graph, it can be known as rheogram or consistency curve. Extrapolation of a line through this point to the origin will result in the complete rheogram. Can be used for Newtonian type of fluids, which obey the Newton's law of flow, where the rate of shear is directly proportional to the shearing stress. So since the rate of shear is directly proportional to the shearing stress, the viscosity can be easily measured by the help of these type of instruments. The capillary and falling spheres are of use only with the Newtonian type of material. And the Oswald viscometer is one of the very simple example which is widely used in the laboratories for measurement of viscosity. So this is the Oswald viscometer, where you can see the Oswald viscometer. There are two bulbs, small bulb and big bulb, and there are 2 points A and B. So capillary viscometer, which is defined or which can be given by the example of Oswald viscometer. There are two type of Oswald viscometer. Capillary viscometers. One is the Oswald viscometer and the second one is the suspended level viscometer. So Oswald viscometer, which is widely used in pharmaceutical laboratories. So you can see the diagram of this Oswald viscometer, and because it has the capillary portion also, so it is also known as capillary viscometer. And there are 2 points like A and B. So when we suck the liquid from the one side, and then we have to allow the liquid to pass through this viscometer, we have to measure the time taken to flow from point A to B. If the liquid having more time from flowing A to B, then it can be concluded that our liquid or substance or sample having more viscosity. And if the sample having less time from traveling A to B, it can be concluded that our some sample substance is having less viscosity. So depending on the time taken to flow from point 1 to B, we can measure the viscosity of particular substance. So Oswald viscometer is used to determine the viscosity of a Newtonian liquid. It is a type of capillary viscometer. So both dynamic as kinematic viscosity can be obtained. So as we discussed in our previous lecture, what is dynamic viscosity and what is kinematic viscosity. So we can measure the both type of viscosities with the help of this Oswald viscometer. When a liquid flows by gravity, the time required for the liquid to pass between two marks, as we seen in our figure, point A and B. So when a liquid flow by the help of the gravity or gravitational force, the time required to flow from point A to B through a vertical capillary tube is determined. So with the help of Oswald viscometer, we can easily measure the viscosity of Newtonian type of liquids in our laboratory. The second type of viscometers are the falling sphere viscometers. So as per the name given, we can see in this diagram also a steel ball is given, a simple tube is given, and there is a surrounding constant temperature jacket, and the ball steel ball is fall from one side to another side. There are 2 points, one is the A and another one is the B, and the water can flow surrounding this temperature so that it can maintain the temperature also. We already know that the viscosity is always affected by the temperature. We have to express the temperature at the time of expressing the results of viscosity. So a sample and ball are placed in the inner glass tube as we seen in figure and allowed to reach temperature equilibrium with the water in the surrounding constant temperature jacket, so that it can maintain the temperature. When we flow the water surrounding this equipment, we can obtain a constant temperature. So first the sample and steel ball are placed in the inner glass tube, and then we have to maintain the temperature also. The tube and jacket are then inverted, which effectively places the ball at the top of the inner glass tube. Now, the time for the ball to fall between two marks is accurately measured and repeated several times. So, instead of measure the time taken to flow from point 1 to B, as we seen in our Oswald viscometer, in this type of falling sphere viscometer, where we have to measure the time for the ball to fall between two marks is measured, and it can be repeated for several times to nullifying or to rectifying the different errors. Now, after the discussion of single point instruments which can be explained with the help of different examples like capillary viscometers, Oswald viscometers, and falling sphere viscometers. Now, in second type of instrumentation part, there are multi-point instruments or multi-point viscometers. They are known as rotational type of viscometer, so which is based on the rotation phenomena. It can be used with the non-Newtonian systems. The instrumentation used must be able to operate at a varieties of rates of shear. Because the principle is given, or is the working mechanism or working principle of multi-point instruments are based on the different rate of shear. So we have to select the instrument. It should be able to operate at a variety of rates of shear. Examples of this type of multi-point instruments are given here. Cup and bob type of viscometer, cone and plate type of viscometer. It can be used for the both types of flow system. Either it may be Newtonian in nature or non-Newtonian in nature. So these are the different type of multi-point instruments. When we go through the example of this multi-point instrument, first we have to take the cup and bob type of viscometer, where you can see a stationary cup. The sample can be filled in this cup. The bubble of entrapped air can be seen here. The rotating bob is given here. The bob can be rotated in the stationary cave. You can see the torque set also and drive shaft to rotate this rotating bob. So this is the apparatus or systematic diagram of cup and bob viscometer, where the rotating bob rotates in the stationary cave and the sample is already filled in this cave. So this is the multi-point type of viscometer and it belongs to the category of rotational viscometer, which is based on the rotation phenomena. More resistance to rotate, it can be easily predicted that the substance having more viscosity, and if the bob or rotating bob is easily rotate in the sample, we can predict that our sample having less viscosity. So cup and bob viscometer can be also classified, can be included in the category of rotational type of viscometers. The sample is placed in the cup and the bob is placed in the cup up to an appropriate height, which can be denoted by H as is seen in our diagram. The sample is accommodated between the gap of cup and bob. The cup or bob is made to rotate and the torque sharing stress from the viscous drag is measured by a spring or sensor in the drive of the bob. So this is the working mechanism of the cup and bob viscometer, where the cup or bob is made to rotate and the torque from the viscous drag is measured by a spring or sensor which is given in the drive of the bob. The second type of rotational or multi-point viscometer, which can be explained by the cone and plate viscometer. So you can see here, instead of cup and bob, there are cone and plate viscometer, where the stationary plate is given and the cone, which can be triangular in shape, it can rotate at a definite angle, so we can obtain the viscosity of the sample. So this is the diagram of cone and plate viscometer. So now the working mechanism of cone and plate viscometer. So the sample is placed at the center of the plate, which is then raised into the position under the cone. The cone is driven by a variable speed motor and the sample is sheared in the narrow gap between the stationary plate and the rotating cone. So we have to put our sample in the narrow gap between the plate and the cone. The rate of shear in revolution per minute is increased and decreased by selector dial, which is available in the apparatus, and the torque, which is shearing stress produced on the cone, is read on the indicator scale, which is available in the instrument. A plot of RPM is revolution per minute of rate of shear versus scale reading shearing stress may be plotted. So when we plot the rheogram, the consistency curve between the rate of shear versus shearing stress, we can obtain a characteristic graph. And on the basis of this graph, we can determine the viscosity and we can characterize the sample also. So this is the another type of rotational viscometer. And Brookfield viscometer, which is used in industry as well as in our laboratories also, it can be widely used for determination of viscosity for both type of fluids. Either it may be Newtonian as well as in the non-Newtonian liquids also. And it is based on the similar principles of the rotational viscometer, where a spindle can rotate in the sample and then we have to measure the different resistance to rotate the spindle and measure the viscosity. So Brookfield viscometer, which is widely used in the industry as well as in the pharmaceutical laboratories for measurement of viscosity of different substances. So it is again the type of rotational viscometer, which is based on the similar principle as the cup and bob and cone and plate viscometer works. Now the pharmaceutical applications of this viscometer. So we already discussed about the application part of viscosity, thixotropy. So viscosity is very important phenomena for not only for the topical preparations but for the semi-solid preparations like creams and lotions where the absorption and spreading all are based on the viscosity of this particular material. Rate of absorption of the products by the skin also depends on this rheology or viscosity characteristics. Release of active ingredient is possible from the softer, less viscous bases. The viscosity of semi-solid products may affect the absorption of these topical products due to the effect of viscosity on the rate of diffusion of the API, active ingredients. The rate of absorption of an ordinary suspension differs from the different type of suspension which showing the thixotropy. And thixotropy is also very useful in the study of different pharmaceutical suspensions and emulsions where the pouring can be easily done from the low viscosity substances from the containers. So these are the some of the applications of the viscosity and thixotropy in different formulation. Now viscoelasticity. Viscoelasticity is the property of the materials that exhibit both viscous and elastic characteristics when undergoing deformation. So it can be when we go through the solids, we can see the deformation of solids is the part of rheology of solid substances. So viscoelasticity is the property of materials that exhibit both viscous and elastic characteristics and which can be seen undergoing the deformation. Viscous materials like honey resist shear flow and strain linearly with time when a stress is applied. So when a shearing stress or force per unit area is applied, the rate of shear can be shown as per their nature of the material. So viscous materials like honey resist this shear flow and stress when we apply a force per unit area. So viscoelasticity with cone plate geometry, the sample appears to roll up and a high shear rate is ejected from the gate. With concentric cylinder geometry, the sample will climb up the spindle of the rotating inner cylinder, which is known as Wiesenberg effect. So these are the characteristics of viscoelasticity. So now when we summarize our today's lecture, we discussed about the first what is thixotropy and how it is measured. What is the characteristic features of the rheograms of thixotropic behavior, examples of thixotropic behavior, and then we discussed about the applications of thixotropy in different formulation. Second part of our today's chapter, we discuss about the measurement of viscosity or rheology. It can be measured by the different instruments which is known as viscometers. They are single point instruments or maybe multi-point instruments. We can use the Oswald type of capillary viscometers or Falling sphere viscometers for measurement of viscosity of Newtonian liquids. And for non-Newtonian liquids, we can use the rotational type of viscometers. So by the help of different instruments, we can measure the viscosity of Newtonian as well as the non-Newtonian liquids or materials or fluids. Then we discussed about the viscoelasticity and applications of viscosity in pharmaceutical formulations. So these are the different topics of today's discussion. This, some references are given here. You can go through the Martin's Physical Pharmacy book, or you can go through the Ansel Pharmaceutical Dosage Form book, or different books like the Alton's, Agrawal, and you can find the more material regarding this viscosity and rheology topic. Now, lastly, we have to go through the quiz section. So in quiz section, some of the questions are given here. You can go through the reading materials and find out the different questions answer. A Brookfield viscometer measures viscosity by measuring A. Shear stress, B. Shear rate, C. Torque required to move an impeller at a set speed, and D is the shear stress and shear rate. So Brookfield viscometer, which is a rotational type of viscometer. So you have to go through the material, you have to go through the lecture and find out the what is the principle, how the Brookfield viscometer measure the viscosity of different substances. Second question is, which of the following is not a viscometer? A is capillary, B is falling sphere, C is rotational, and D is drop weight. So you have to tick the correct option, which is not a viscometer. The next question is, which of the following viscometer is based on Stokes law? So we have to pick the correct option. Like A is given here, cup and ball viscometer. B is falling sphere viscometer. C is cone and plate viscometer. D is Brookfield viscometer. So there are four options. You have to pick the correct option for the question. The next question is, Oswald viscometer is a type of a capillary viscometer, B is used for non-Newtonian liquid. C is type of rotational viscometer. D is industrial instrument. So you have to pick the correct option for this question. Next one is the Bingham bodies are substances which show. Option A, dilatant flow, B, plastic flow, C, pseudo-plastic flow, and D, Newtonian flow. So Bingham bodies we already discussed in our today's lecture as well as in our previous lectures also, and the rheograms for this Bingham bodies were already discussed. So you have to pick the correct option for this question. The reciprocal of mobility is known as A. Dynamic viscosity, B is apparent viscosity, C is kinematic viscosity, and D is plastic viscosity. So you have to give the correct option for this question. Now after the MCQ type of questions, now some of the short answer type of questions are given here. First one is the what is thixotropy. So we have to give the introduction or definition of thixotropy. They give the applications of thixotropy. So we discussed about the examples of different applications of thixotropy. So we have to quote one or two examples with the applications of thixotropy in pharmaceutical formulations. Next, give the examples of thixotropy. So you have to quote the or you have to give the examples of different substances which show the thixotropic behavior. Next one is the discuss the rotational viscometers. And last question is give the working principle used in Brookfield viscometer. So we have to give the working principle of this type of very important industrial instrument is given in our today's lecture. So these are the different questions for today's lecture. Please go through the today lecture and find out the answers of different questions which is given in the quiz section. So